Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 2023 Honda SCL500, or as you may know it, the Scrambler. And by the end of this video, I will hopefully have an answer for you, the viewer, on whether or not this motorcycle right here is going to end up being a good buy, or if instead you should be saying goodbye. If you're new here, mostly I do motorcycle reviews, commentary, and just general content around the two-wheel world. I sprinkle in some memes, some sound effects here and there. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, consider subscribing to the channel. And at the end of this video, if you decide you like it enough, please blast that like button. I'm going to take you through some specifications. We'll walk around, talk about some features. I'll get you an exhaust sound clip, and then I will take you for a test ride, and we'll finish the video by giving you my final thoughts and verdict. Prior to doing that, I do want to mention a few things. There are a few links in the description to RevZilla.com. I am one of their affiliate partners, and any purchases that you make through RevZilla using my links ultimately assist me in being able to do what I do. So it would be tremendously appreciated if you could check out those links below and maybe buy something from their store that could enhance your motorcycling experience. If not, no big deal. I still appreciate you watching. And the last thing before we get going is I want to give a big thank you to the guys who make these videos possible, and that would be
St Charles Motorsports. St Charles Motorsports is one of the largest power sports dealers in the Midwest, based out of St Charles, Missouri, just 20 miles northwest of St. Louis. Being such a large store gives them an advantage over the smaller locations because they order the most inventory, which means they can sell it to you at the lowest prices. They carry all kinds of products: on-road motorcycles, off-road motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs. Basically anything that's not airbound, they're selling it. And they've got big names like Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Can-Am, Gas, KTM, and more. They've got so many options to choose from, it's almost hard to make a decision. Luckily, they have a professionally trained staff ready to help you with your next power sports product purchase. You can visit them online at www.bigstcharlesmotorsports.com, or you can call them directly at 636-946-6487. St Charles Motorsports and Omni Motor are not affiliated in any other capacity outside of these test ride reviews.
Okay, so now that the introduction's right out of the way, let's talk about this motorcycle. And I do have some notes here from Honda's website to tell us a little bit about the origins of this machine. So apparently it dates back to as early as 1960, when the legendary SCL350 and SCL72 Scramblers were some of the most popular bikes in the world. Bottom line, they were apparently just right for consumers at the time because they were versatile, they were approachable, and they were practical. But this isn't like a grassroots type of motorcycle that started from nothing. A lot of the components that I'm going to point out to you in the walkthrough are components that you may have seen on another very popular Honda motorcycle, the Honda Rebel 500. I did a video on that motorcycle as well. If you want to check it out, click the link up in the top right of this video. This essentially is a Rebel 500, but it isn't because it's its own machine. It's got a new tank, a new subframe in the rear, taller suspension, bigger wheels and tires, and just overall a completely different vibe than the Rebel 500 and the type of consumer that would be buying that motorcycle versus this motorcycle. But I'll tell you all about it right now. So starting at the front of the machine, the first thing I always like to mention is the brake system. This is a 310 millimeter setup. It's a single disc on the right hand side. This disc is pinched between a 2-piston Nissan caliper on an axial mount setup, and this disc stops our 19-inch front wheel. Helping us maintain contact with the ground are a 41mm set of conventional forks with protective fork boot covers, and they come in with a respectable 5.9 inches of travel. And as we make our way to the rear of the motorcycle, we can see that we have a single disc back here with a 240mm diameter, and that disc helps slow down the 17-inch rear wheel. And this is clamped in between a single piston Nissan caliper. We have dual shocks out back, and these shocks use a progressive spring rate. On this specific style, it is coiled higher at the top, and it loosens up as we make our way down. The only adjustability on these shocks is the preload right here on this little collar. And these two shocks have about 5.7 inches of travel. I don't think I mentioned it up front, but this motorcycle does come standard with ABS. With 471 cc's of displacement, this dual overhead cam, liquid-cooled, parallel twin engine delivers about 46 horsepower and just around 30 pound-feet of torque. Power from the engine is fed into your gearbox back here, which is a 6-speed setup with an assist and slipper clutch. And Honda claims that because of the slipper clutch, this system offers a 30% lighter lever pull at the finger compared to previous setups. And thanks to the engine and transmission working so well together, this engine is rated at around 60 miles per gallon. And with a tank that holds about 3.2 gallons, if you were to squeeze every last drop of fuel out of this tank, you'd get around 190 miles until you were completely empty. So, safely, before you have to stop for fuel, I would say about 160 to 170 miles would be an excellent spot to start considering filling your tank back up. The machine tips the scales at 419 pounds wet and ready to ride. That's actually a pretty light number, and it's way, way, way lighter than your mama.
What did he say?
Seating position is also fairly unbiased. I'm about 6'1" with a 33-inch inseam, and this is how I fit on the motorcycle at a stop. If I put my feet up on the peg, you can see my foot is pretty well directly underneath of me. My riding position is pretty neutral. I'm completely upright, and I could ride like this for probably all day, as long as this seat will provide me with comfort throughout the day. Okay, now that we're through all of that, let's talk about some features, and then we'll do the exhaust clip. I'll try to keep this part short, but let's talk about these features on the bike. Once more, ABS is a standard feature. You get full LED lighting all the way around for excellent visibility at nighttime, and it's also a pretty clean look. This was something I wasn't completely expecting, but Honda did take these tank pads on the sides and they kind of rubberized them a little bit, which I do appreciate since your knees are going to be sitting right there. You know, you don't want your knees banging off of hard plastic components whenever you're off-roading and getting them banged around. The stylish upswept exhaust is another component that Honda highlighted on their website, and they talked about how its design will allow for a passenger to be accommodated for with no issue. But I don't really see how this can be issue-free whenever it's sitting right there. You know what? In fact, let's just see for ourselves how accommodating this is. You know, I guess your leg is kind of forced up, so it does work, but I can just tell I'm gonna feel heat just cooking my thigh from the underside. So, is it really a feature, or is it just part of the design language for a Scrambler? Another thing they kind of touted about was the seat being a little bit more flat and more comfortable. Just around the parking lot, it feels okay, but we'll see in a few minutes how good it is whenever we get out on the roadways here. The Scrambler is a pretty narrow motorcycle, so you can really grip the tank, and it kind of follows that trend all the way up. The bars are fairly wide, so you have great control off-road. Control boxes are nothing special from Honda. This is just kind of the standard control box system that they put on a lot of their other machines. Also wanted to point out the oil filter is right here, so very, very easy to get to if you wanted to spin that off and get a quick change on that yourself. You've also got a sight glass on the side of the engine here, so you can get a quick tab on the condition of your oil as well. And the drain plug for this motorcycle is right down here on the underside of the engine. That's it there. And the last thing I'll talk about is the gauge cluster. I hate this gauge cluster so much. There's no tachometer on it, so you have no clue what RPM you're riding at. It does give you the basics like gear position, miles per hour, and fuel range, but other than that, that's really it. I mean, yeah, you get a clock, you can see how many miles are on your bike, but what gauge clusters don't have that for the modern day stuff in this price range? Nothing to write home about. So that's pretty much it for the feature walk-around on this SCL or Scrambler 500. I guess now we can do an exhaust clip and see what this thing sounds like. Alright, and now that we're done listening to that, I guess we can get into the test ride portion of the video. That would be this portion of the video. Welcome to the test ride. In the beginning of my test rides, I always like to come into the big St. Charles Motorsports or the big St. Charles Harley-Davidson parking lot. The two are intertwined and their buildings are connected, as you can see. Anyway, I like to come in here and just get a feel for the bike at low speed, hang my back brake, try to figure out where the clutch likes to grab at, and get a feel for how the throttle behaves, and also just kind of scrub my brakes in, get everything in the bike warmed up, from the oil in the forks to your brake pads, of course your engine, get your coolant circulating, and just kind of get things moving. Slowly grab the brakes. Okay, the single disc seems to be quite ample for this Scrambler. Slow down from 30. The ABS did not interfere at all, and I didn't put my feet down. That was pretty cool. Okay, now we'll do the 2 parking spot test. I watched someone else do it, and I think I've been doing it wrong. I've been moving out first rather than locking my bars first to do the 2 parking spots, so let's see if I can do it right this time. And if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to start on that line, and I'm going to do a U-turn without going beyond that white line. So we'll start right here. We'll lock our bars, we'll hang our back brake, find that friction zone, load the chassis, and go. Oh, look at that. Yeah, wow. Wow. This thing turns pretty tight, and it's, I don't know, it's so skinny. It feels lighter than what it says on paper, in my opinion. It doesn't feel like it's over 400 pounds. All right, let's make a left out of here, hit that blinker. I just topped the bike off on blinker fluid, so we should have plenty to get through this test ride. Always check your blinker fluid before you go out. Make sure you've got enough. So, all right. Also, the clutch pull. I'm finding that one finger is more than ample to pull this in and out. Very, very light clutch pull. All right, eventually I'm going to get on this road. It has been like 2 minutes I've been waiting here because, you know, as one car passes, of course, there's another car coming from this way that gives me just not enough of a gap to feel 100% confident that something goofy won't happen. Just like this. Here we go. All right, any minute now, guys. Clear this way. Here we go. Initial impressions within the first 100 yards. For some reason, this bike doesn't feel like it has the same amount of buzz and vibration as the Rebel does, which is strange because it's the same engine, the same frame. Gearbox feels decent. This bike is very, very predictable for that initial power delivery on takeoff. Super linear delivery, and harkening back to what I was saying during my slow speed maneuvers, the bike turns very easy and it moves out very nice. Engine braking isn't super prevalent. It's got a little bit. That boy's moving. Okay, so 3rd gear, 30 miles per hour. Just gonna slowly open the throttle. Yeah, that's pretty pleasant. Like I said, a very mild mannered engine. Ooh, we got some tree clippings. Oh, she's happy. I'm happy she's happy. It's a beautiful day. They say that you meet the nicest people on a Honda. Or at least they used to say that, I think, back in the 60s, whenever, you know, the first Scrambler came out. This bike seems to get a lot of attention in the big St. Charles Motorsports showroom, but from what I've seen, they've sold maybe 2. They've got 2 there right now. Of course, there's this one and another one back at home base. And I don't know, this bike isn't for me, but for around town use and just being a everyday motorcycle, this is a pretty solid option, I think. It's got plenty of power for the highway. Around town, it's very mild-mannered. It's not super feisty, and it's very fuel efficient. And I keep rev matching even though I don't necessarily need to, because this bike, once more, has a slipper clutch. Status update on comfort level for me, the rider, and this could vary rider to rider based on your dimensions, weight, and inseam, but I'm very comfortable. I feel very neutral. I don't feel cramped in the slightest, and my back is thanking me, especially compared to the last motorcycle I rode, which was the Yamaha R7 that has semi-aggressive ergonomics, you know, not the most aggressive ergo in the world, but not the most comfortable by any means. Brake feel at the lever is okay at light pulls. I don't like all these cars behind me. Just gonna whip it in here for a second. Oh, and you know what? This is a gravel road. This is really where scramblers belong. Now, this is a brand new motorcycle, so I'm not going to be flying up and down this gravel road, but the suspension feels very ample and like it helps you soak up a lot of the imperfections on gravel roads underneath of you. Yeah, you know, I could definitely see this doing fairly well on some country dirt roads or gravel roads or just rough, imperfect roads. Not too shabby at all. Finding neutral's also pretty easy. How's it going? No, I'm just doing a video.
Radio 30 miles an hour down my driveway.
Oh, no, I was just turning around. I'm sorry.
Slowly.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I honestly didn't think I was going that fast, but if I was, I apologize.
It's just me. When I'm seeing it, it looks fast and then it bucks up the gravel.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I wasn't meaning to be disrespectful.
Turn around, I'm like, what the fuck you want?
No, I'm sorry, man. Well, okay, well, hey, have a good day. Well, that was kind of weird. Why are people so weird about gravel, man? I get it, it's private property, but I don't think I messed anything up. Whatever. You know, I find that this is a pretty pleasant ride, actually. I could see this being really enjoyable around town. And even though it's a liquid-cooled dual overhead cam engine, I don't feel that it's, you know, begging me to rev it out. It's very friendly and polite. And again, I really like the tank having these rubber grips on it. That's very nice, so whenever you get into dirt roads, gravel roads, no roads, you can very easily grip the tank without sliding around on a smooth painted surface while also having some protection so you're not banging up against hard plastic. Here, let's go no rev matching. Nice. Rear wheel didn't lock up as advertised. Slipper clutch. Nice slipper clutch. That's great. That's really good. That's really, really good. That's going to give you a lot of confidence as a new rider. A lot of new riders that may release the clutch too quickly on downshifts could experience rear wheel skidding with a standard clutch, but the slipper clutch again mitigates those effects and helps you shift down smoothly. This exhaust has a little bit of pop to it, you know, whenever you downshift it kind of burble, 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 burble. What? I kind of like that. All right, let's get up to highway speed here and see how our highway capability is. Well, I definitely have no wind protection, that is for sure. I think they do sell like a little windscreen you can put on this machine to maybe help with some of that and remedy that. It is holding 70 miles per hour just fine. If we need to grab down a gear and make a pass, ramp it up to 75. And making our way to 80. Wow, that takes a lot longer to get there than I would expect. But still, it's pretty composed on the interstate. It feels okay. I feel like with its lightweight nature though, you get a strong enough gust of wind from the side, you may find that you're going to get blown over the road a little bit along the way. Alright, so our first stint on the highway is done. This time we're going to do a 0 to 60 test prior to getting on the interstate, and we'll make sure that we're not interfering with any traffic who may be coming on the way. Alright, here we go. This is pretty easy. I'm not a professional, but you know, I'll do my best to get it from 0 to 60 as quickly as possible. 3, 2, 1. Sheesh. Not the fastest 0 to 60 time I've ever felt, but certainly not the slowest. So for those who may ask, can you commute on the Honda SCL500 or Scrambler 500? I still haven't decided what I want to call it, but the answer is yes, you can commute on the SCL500. Just expect quite a bit of wind. Of course, it is a completely nude motorcycle, or naked, but it can definitely do the job, and it does it fairly well. And again, very fuel efficient with around 60 miles to the gallon average. And you know, one thing I hadn't considered, but because it is so narrow, that definitely helps with anyone who has a shorter inseam, because the wider a seat inhibits your ability to get your feet to the ground. Stood up a little bit there. The pegs are in a great position also. I didn't mention that, but they're in a great position to be able to stand up on the motorcycle. Oh, hello Prius. How are you today? Dandy, I hope. The little burble again from the exhaust. That's pretty cool. Here, now would probably be a good time to test the heat coming off of the exhaust here. Wow, I've actually, look at that, guys. I've been on this bike for like 20 minutes now. I can put my hand there, no problem. Maybe the passenger wouldn't get as much heat as I originally thought. So, I guess, good job, Honda. You guys managed the heat very well. What can I say about the Scrambler 500? Find out right now. Well, it's a pretty solid bike. I guess we'll start with the positives first. First thing I noticed was that it's very comfortable, a very neutral riding position that allows you to stand up when you need to, but also does a great job whenever your ass is actually in the saddle of keeping you comfortable. It's nice and flat and doesn't force you forward. A very fuel-efficient motorcycle with predictable power delivery and ample power at that. I would say, you know, the characteristics of the engine and the ease of use for the transmission definitely make this bike new rider friendly for sure. It can handle highway speed with ease. The suspension feels pretty plush and seems very capable for almost any scenario you might throw at the SCL500. Clutch pull was very nice. Again, I used one finger the whole time. Gearbox is very easy to get along with. And if you were considering looking at your first motorcycle, I would definitely recommend one of these to you if you wanted something that was a little non-traditional and a little bit more spicy than your standard cruiser or classic motorcycle. This kind of fits into its own category of motorcycles you might see on the road. And it's pretty inexpensive for a lot of good features like LED lighting, ABS. You know, I think Honda's website has these starting around $6,600 MSRP, and then of course you do have dealer associated fees that you may pay depending on where you shop at. And prices are going to vary across the board depending on who you talk to and where you buy. And to top it all off, the bike is pretty snazzy looking. You know, it's not your average run-of-the-mill standard motorcycle. It looks a little bit more unique and is a bit more visually appealing and will turn a few more heads. So, for all of those reasons, I would rate this bike as a good buy. Okay, now for the negatives. I didn't really mention this in the video because I didn't think about it until towards the very end, but the bars were kind of clocked at a weird angle. But, you know, that's a really small gripe, and at this point I'm nitpicking. Because the engine is such linear delivery, and it's in so many other bikes like the CBR500R, the CB500F, we've seen it in the CB500X, it's in the Rebel 500. It's just not the most exciting engine. You know, it gets the job done, but there's nothing earth-shatteringly cool about the power plant and transmission that's in this machine. I mean, I'm having a really hard time dissing this bike. It was really solid the whole time I rode it, and I really don't have anything else bad to say about it, because aside from it maybe just being a little bit too plain Jane and a little bit too boring for me personally, I can't really think of any other reasons, but, you know, for that reason alone, I guess you could say goodbye. But let me know what you guys think. Give me some reasons why you guys think this is a good buy. Now that all that is out of the way, I guess we can kick it to the outro. We'll just reach over here and grab that.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video and watching all the way through. If you want to see more content like this, consider clicking this playlist up here in the top right corner. I appreciate you watching. If you like this content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and also blasting that like button at the bottom. Leave me some comments below letting me know what you think about the Scrambler 500 or the SCL, whatever you want to call it. And one last time, don't forget to check out Big St Charles Motorsports. Visit them online at www.bigstcharlesmotorsports.com or give them a call at 636-946-6487. And if you guys could check out those links to revzilla.com in the description, I would tremendously appreciate it. I don't have anything else to add. I just want to say thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please be kind and ride safe.